What's up, guys and girls? Welcome back. Another Impulsive TCG video. Today, just another simple discussion. I see a lot of new people entering the hobby today. I just see a lot of people making mistakes that, they're kind of rookie mistakes, kind of beginner mistakes. So I just kind of want to break it down, go through the top 5 that I feel like most commonly happen for new people that are just getting into the hobby, getting into Pokemon, maybe it's just TCGs in general. I just kind of want to break it down and show like what those 5 mistakes are, what you can do to avoid them, what, pitfalls to not fall into them and things of that nature. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and cut this intro short, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to hop right into it. Now, the first big mistake I see so many new people doing when they enter the hobby is just FOMO buying or buying at peaks. They see a card that spikes up so high and oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to get this card. We've seen it so much recently. There's recent examples of this. The Drowsy back in January and February, which spiked up to $80 a card. Oh, the PSA 10s are so hard to grade. It's a $800 PSA 10. The raw deserves to be $80, and then look where it is. It's like 20 bucks now, maybe 25. If you bought it $80, you're stuck with that. There was the most recent example with the Greninja Gold Star. That spiked to like, what, $30 a card? It was like a $2 card, $3 card. Now it's what? It's dropping back down to like $20, $15. Like, obviously it's higher than it was, but it's not at its peak right now again. Like, it maybe it goes back up eventually. Who knows? It could. But if you bought at that very peak when all the hype and that's all anyone was talking about, you bought at the peak. You FOMO'd in. Now, there's pretty simple ways to avoid this. The simplest way is just, if everyone's talking about something, kind of know that that's probably the peak. Do this with a lot of investments. If everyone's talking about, oh, you can make money doing this, you can do this. When your grandma starts talking about crypto, that's when you know you're at a peak. Like, the normal people that don't normally talk about stuff like this, suddenly talking about free money, no, that's peaks. It's the same for Pokemon as well in the community. When everyone's talking about the Greninja Gold Star or the Drowsy Illustration Rare, it's probably at its peak. Most people don't care about that card, will never care about the card, but they like money, they like selling it, they like getting new cards. Peak. Just avoid buying in, don't FOMO into stuff. The next beginner mistake I see a lot of people make is only focusing on English. Now, obviously you can have preferences, and I think it's good to enjoy the English because you can read it. But if there's a card you say really want, maybe it's the Moonbreon, maybe it's the Sunbreon, one of those super expensive cards, or even just a random alt art, the Japanese version is probably cheaper. It's the same artwork. All things considered, you can just read the name. That's pretty much it. Most people don't play with the cards. The TCG is big, but like a lot of people don't actually end up playing with these cards anyway because they're so expensive. So they're not playable type of cards. Some people do like the higher end, but it's neither here nor there. But Japanese has some great artworks and better quality than English a lot of the time. And a lot of people just ignore it. They only want the English cards, which is fine. People have preferences. I have my preference to English cards as well. But just know, if you're looking for price point, sustainability, Japanese will a lot of times be cheaper. So if you're working on a budget and you're like, I really love this card and how it looks, and it's like, well, that's $1,000 card in Japanese or in English, and the Japanese version is $300. It's the same artwork. Save yourself some money, get the Japanese version. Maybe eventually get the Japanese version and then work towards saving up for the new one. Maybe you can do a trade or something and give the Japanese one for the English one. But like, don't ignore Japanese. I know it kind of contradicts my last video about Chinese and stuff like that, but don't ignore those cards, especially if you're just wanting them because the artwork is really nice. It helps out with your budget a lot. The next big thing is understanding how scarcity works. Scarcity is kind of the key thing that makes a lot of these collectibles worth collecting because people like to have stuff that other people can't have. It's just a human nature thing. But a lot of people don't realize that scarcity is something you need to look into before you go super into a card, or you're like, oh, I have to pick this up at this price point. It's like, well, maybe it drops more. The only thing scarcity, like how scarcity works in Pokemon TCG is sealed will always go down in amount. Once it's done printing, they're not making more, it'll only ever get lower and lower. Well, the cards will eventually keep going up until they hit a plateau where more is not being opened. So eventually the cards will hit a plateau and they won't keep going up. And that's when those prices start to rise, because then the supply starts decreasing because more of them are out of circulation. People have them in collections, they're not selling them. That's typically how the scarcity market and like the collectibles works the same in Pokemon. So just knowing how scarcity works, knowing that sealed will always go down in scarcity because there's just less of it being made, while supply of cards themselves can keep going up. Number 4 on the list, pretty simple stuff, is just caring about slabs like hugely. Like, it has to be a 10 only. Now, if you're looking for investment purposes, like these are investment vehicles for you to park your money, then yeah, PSA 10 is going to be the most liquid. It's going to be the way to get your money out the best. Like it just makes the most sense to do it and get PSA 10s. But for people who just like to collect and are like, oh, I have to have a perfect card, you can a lot of times find slabs, PSA 8s, PSA 9s, PSA 7s for less than what the raw card is a lot of the time because people don't value them as highly anymore. Now, I think that's kind of dumb in my opinion, but that's how the market works or currently. So if you're looking for, slabs and just cards to add to your collection, don't necessarily think that you have to go for a PSA 10 unless you're super worried about it in the future about liquidity. Now, yes, if you're like, oh, I need to sell this or I need to worry, it's not the end of the world. But if you're actually just a collector and I'm going to hold on to this, I'm not looking to sell it or anything like that, pick up some 9s, pick up some 8s. Like it's ultimately ends up being the same card that's in the slab as the PSA 10. Like it's the same card, just a different quality. And a lot of these times, the 7s and 8s are just unlucky cards that you could probably break open, resubmit to PSA, and maybe you can get a 10 on them. Kind of crazy, but that's just what, the fourth mistake I normally see people is they only care about 10s, mainly because of monetary reasons, but you can get other cards that you do enjoy in lower grades. If you are enjoying the video, if you could like and subscribe, it would help me out a ton. I think like 99% of people aren't subscribed. Also join the Discord, the link's in the description. Love to get to know everyone who watches the videos. If you want to talk Pokemon, just join the Discord. But yeah, I'll get back to this final thing. Last thing for number 5, the fifth thing I see happening all the time is people treat Pokemon like it's a stock market almost. Now, yes, you can invest in it. I think investing in it is a smart decision. But people act like it's the most liquid thing. Like, if I want to sell it, I can sell it at this price immediately. And it's like, you got to account for things that you don't have to account for in, like, say, a stock market or crypto. You have to account for the fees on TCG Player if you're going to sell them there. You have to find a buyer if you're going to sell it in the open market on Facebook Market. Like, yes, in this current market, it's going pretty quick. But let's say we take a downturn. Suddenly your stuff isn't selling as quickly, and then turns a cycle, and that's how downturns happen, is buyers aren't being found and people are lowering the prices trying to find buyers. And just know it's not the stock market. No, you can't liquidate this stuff immediately on a whim. It's not money in your bank account, or your collector app is not money in your bank account. This is not dollar bills. These are investments. It's what their market value is, and just know it's not the stock market. So yeah, that's pretty much the 5 big mistakes I see people making whenever they're joining the TCGs, Pokemon especially. Just some things I notice, things that can be fixed. Honestly, all 5 of those are fixable. People make mistakes, but I think you can learn from them. And it's helpful to not have to make those mistakes. So if I'm able to help even one person out not make said mistake, I feel like that's a job well done. So yeah, just be on the lookout for these things so you don't make them, and honestly, it'll help you out in the long term. It'll hopefully keep your budget intact so you're not burnt out and not feeling like, oh man, I just broke the bank again because I chased a high, or I want a PSA 10 and it's like it's $1,000 and it's like, well, the 9's only 500. So different things. Just wanted to kind of let people know the 5 mistakes I'm seeing. Let me know if you have any other mistakes in the comments. Like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. I think that's about it for today. So if you liked the video, share it. Appreciate everyone stopping by today, and have a good one.